Welcome to Bending Perspective, different takes on Avatar the Last Airbender. This is episode 5. We're going to cover the episodes Blue Spirit, the Fortune Teller, and Bado of the Water Tribe. So, who wants to do Blue Spirit? Deanna, you want to do it?
We didn't introduce ourselves.
Hi, my name is Abigail.
Sorry, my name is Emily. Abby.
Abigail.
Okay.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Adrian.
Okay. So, Dan, go for it.
Alright, so we begin with the Blue Spirit of Sokka being very ill from the remnants of the storm, being out so much in the rain. And Katara starts catching it too, and Aang has to go and find a way to help them. And he learns of a herbalist up on a mountain. He goes to visit, and she tells him to go gather some frozen frogs for them to suck on. While he is gathering frozen frogs, he is ambushed by some Fire Nation archers who capture him for Admiral Zhao. By the way, Zhao got a promotion. And while he's being captured, he is rescued by a mysterious figure and with a mask of a blue spirit on it. And they escape together, and as they're escaping, he figures out the blue spirit is actually Zuko, and instead of abandoning him to Admiral Zhao, Aang helps him get away. And the episode ends with Aang getting back to Sokka and Katara and giving them the frozen frogs to suck on.
That was the best summary of the show.
That was so efficient, Daniel.
Yes. Alright, so thoughts.
This was a really good episode.
Yes.
This is the episode me and Neil have predicted would be a contender for the favorite for this season.
We'll see. But I didn't expect the whole Blue Spirit thing, even though after it happened I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before.
Oh, you were? Yeah, it was really good. First of all, starting off at the beginning of the episode, we have another example of them not shying away from the realities of traveling the world. They got sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that very often. The little herb lady was hilarious.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the slight, comedic effects of the frogs during serious points in the fortress.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
every now when it was very tense, every now and then you get a little frog gag, which was really cute. One thing I noticed in this episode is that we did not see the Blue Spirit, aka Zuko, firebend at all.
Yep.
So we got to see how proficient he is as a warrior without bending.
Yes.
Which told us a lot. And I wondered about that, and I guess it was, if he were firebending, it would make it maybe easier to guess his identity.
Yeah.
And that's why he did that. But it was very impressive to see what he could do without bending. And he also seemed to work very well with Aang, which tells you that he was aware of Aang's capabilities.
Yeah.
So good teamwork.
They showed the Blue Spirit listening in on when he got promoted at the beginning, and then it went to Zuko on his own ship with his uncle.
I think they're they're in the same area geographically. I think that's what it is.
So are we just to presume that he sneaks off at night to go spy on them in his mask?
Yeah, Admiral Zhao is his prime rival and has a lot more resources than him. So his essential philosophy, I believe, at this point is, hey, I'm going to let Zhao find the Avatar, and I'm going to steal him back. Yeah. And in order to do that, I need to spy on him. So
I don't know. That just seems...
I mean, that's what it is.
I know that's not what it... I know that, but I just don't particularly like that. But okay.
He had that conversation with Uncle Iroh about how it's going to be almost impossible now because Zhao has been promoted, Zhao has all these resources, it's almost impossible for him to get... And Uncle Iroh kind of... the scene ends with Uncle Iroh saying, no, there's still a way for you to capture the Avatar, and then it ends. So we don't know that maybe they have suggested it.
That just doesn't seem like Zuko, though, because he is so confrontational. I don't know, that just doesn't seem
Confrontation
like
won't work in this case, though.
Yeah, but I bet Uncle Iroh may have... Because I don't think that would have been Zuko's choice to do that. I don't think he would have come up with that. I
disagree. I believe Zuko would do absolutely anything to capture the Avatar, no matter what his previous limitations were. If it required him to do something he absolutely loathed, like sneaking around and not confronting Zhao head-on, he'd do it.
I guess. I don't know.
And confronting people has led Zuko to a bad situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also know he's going to continue doing it. It's not like he's learned from that already.
But one thing I want to mention about this episode is that we see those same swords throughout earlier episodes mounted on Zuko's wall throughout the series. You see them multiple times.
Oh, wow.
Swords.
Did not know that. The ones he carries as the Blue Spirit.
Oh, Oh, and projectiles.
Yeah, very much so projectiles with those
Yeah.
archers, yes.
The Yuhan archers or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we see for the first time that the Fire Nation is actively searching for the Avatar at this point. Like,
Yes.
there's propaganda out. And there was even that fun comment where he's like, I bet that's Fire Lord propaganda.
Right, and then he runs by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That was good.
Also, how cute was Aang when he said, I think you dropped this to the arrow?
Yeah.
It's like, Aang, no.
And the herbalist, is that what they call
Yeah.
her?
Yeah.
She reminded me of the witch in Brave.
Yeah.
She made me think of you.
She did have that kind of vibe.
With the cat.
Okay, that ending, though. The ending between Aang and Zuko.
Yes,
Right,
I know you wanted to talk about this.
Before we get to that, can we talk about how when they, first of all, the fight scene getting out of the compound is
So
one
good.
of the best ones we've had so far.
Yeah.
So good.
No, it's definitely the best one.
Yeah, it's
so
definitely the
far.
best.
This was a
By
very
far.
combat heavy episode, and they nailed it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
So
awesome.
good.
So good.
Also, we kind of see like Aang's air was super effective.
Mhm.
When he ran in the very beginning to go get the frogs,
Yeah.
I guess I didn't understand that airbending makes you basically supersonic speed.
I'm talking about like when you would see Zuko like kind of fighting, and then Aang would just do like a blast and they would all just fall over. And it's like, oh shoot. Like he's a master, you know? He's one of the only masters we have access to at this point in the series, you know?
Yep.
Also, we saw him casually waterbend, which is cool.
Mhm.
Yes.
Also, note that in the sort of fight scene in the beginning, while they're on those walls fighting, in the beginning, Aang doesn't throw anyone off the wall, and then Zuko does it, and presumably Aang sees they survive, and then he starts doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. That's
funny.
cool.
Okay, when Zhao lets them go, right?
Mhm.
And then they shoot Zuko, it's dark. But when Zuko wakes up in the forest, it's light.
Yep, Aang
How
stayed with
long
him all
did he
night.
stay? Yeah.
Well, Aang stayed with him and guarded him.
Yeah. And he got the blue mask.
I know, I love that little touch.
Aang has a blue mask?
He brought it back for
brought it
Zuko.
with Zuko. Because it was not, he lifted the mask off to see who it was.
Mhm.
And then he brought Zuko and the mask.
So we got some trust building
Yeah.
there.
And then that little conversation was so
Well, it wasn't really a conversation, it was just one-sided.
Yeah.
Until Zuko answered it with a fireball, but,
Yeah.
yeah,
Casually.
it was just, I was very curious as the episode was winding to a close, once the reveal happened, and it was like, oh, okay. My next thought was, how are they going to end this? Like,
Yeah.
are they just going to run off in the night in different directions? Like, what's going to happen? And then when Aang had to rescue him there at the end, and you saw that hesitation on his face, you know,
Yeah.
do I go to Katara and Sokka and get away? Do I help him? If I leave him here, then, you know, the other Fire Nation folks are going to get him. And it's like, well, I owe him because he saved me. So he took him, and then he's just sitting there, and it was just shot. Shot is a weird word. It was animated so beautifully.
Yeah.
Mhm.
With him in the tree,
And the light.
and not even looking down at him as he had that you know, remembrance of his friend. And then the way those two were juxtaposed. And this is the first time I realized, you know, we talked last week, or I always say last episode we talked about, you know, they're two sides of the same coin. And, you know, not only are they set up to be two sides of the same coin, but look at their names. They're A to Z.
Yeah.
So there's a real, you know, they're set up as foils, as kind of opposite each
I
other.
don't really know what the A to Z thing means.
They're opposite, but they are the beginning and the end.
They're the beginning and the end, but then once you get to Z, you start back over with A, so they're also connected.
That's too much.
Two sides of the same
Two sides of the
coin.
same coin thing, but
So, I loved that they both, when they both come home, Zuko to Iroh and Aang to Sokka and Katara, they just go to sleep, which is so accurate. And then, Mom, I guess you could talk about Zuko when he goes to sleep. Do you know what I'm talking about?
let's not be important. Moving on.
He turns.
Oh, yes.
He looks at the Fire Nation
Nation and turns away.
and then he turns his back on it.
Yeah,
and goes to sleep.
he turns away from it. Even though he's sleeping under it and it's this big symbol in his room, he turns away from it, which is just a little My favorite thing in media, visual storytelling, where we tell stories without words. And
also,
it was nice.
They were so good with comedic sprinkles in here because the Momo getting water was. Just
gosh, that was the best.
That
I flash back to Baby Groot in Guardians 2, but of course this of course predated that. But for me, I saw the Guardians before I saw this, so I was reminded of Baby Groot bringing all those things, and then finally. But yeah, it was really, really cute. And by the end, they had that big stack of treasure around them. So you got to wonder, how far was Momo going?
Yeah, Momo's amazing. All those jokes are just hilarious.
The amazing, ruined city they were in.
Where were they?
We don't know.
They're somewhere in the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Somewhere the Fire Nation occupied portion of the Earth Kingdom, and it's just this vast ruined city that clearly has some treasure in it because Momo keeps bringing back stuff from it.
Yeah, I mean, he brought back crowns.
He brought back jewels and crowns.
Yeah. That was interesting. All right, any more thoughts on the Blue Spirit?
Another reminder that waterbenders can't create water, right? Because Katara couldn't do anything unless Momo brought it to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
So, and I like how, and this is not necessarily in this episode, but a couple of the others lately, we've seen some really smooth animation when Katara waterbends, where she just opens her traveling flask or her canteen or whatever, and and she pulls the water out. I mean, it's just really, and then puts it back in. It's very neat, very nicely done.
I think you touched on this a bit earlier, but we really see that Zuko is a master.
Oh, Lord, yes. That was surprising, because we hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
He's never had the need to do it before, but yeah, he is really good at it.
Yeah, he's better at that than firebending.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Well, because his firebending is emotional, kind of just, it's almost like he doesn't have as good a control over it, but he was... Yeah, that's why at first it's easy to get caught up in the deception because you don't, if they had come in firebending, you would have thought, oh, why is Zuko rescuing Aang? But then you get this completely different look, and it's
also that
really
mask
neat.
Was well done.
Yes.
The visual was very good. So, yeah.
Especially the first time we're introduced to him and it pans up and he's just sitting there listening.
Yeah. All right, any more thoughts? Big episode.
Good one. Very good.
All right, so I guess we move on to the fortune teller. Does anybody particularly want to do it?
I don't.
Okay.
I will.
Sure.
Okay, so the fortune teller, they go to they first are traveling and they hear some noises and find a man who has been set upon by a platypus bear. And the man doesn't seem to be scared at all, but they of course are because it's a very big animal. And they finally chase the platypus bear away, and the guy says he didn't worry about anything because the fortune teller had told him that he would travel safely. Mm-hmm. And what's her name? It's Aunt May?
Aunt Wu.
Aunt Wu. I don't know why I couldn't remember the name all of a sudden. So they travel to the village where Aunt Wu is, and Katara seems very into the idea of a fortune teller that is trusted to the extent that this Aunt Wu seems to be. Mm-hmm. So she wants to have her future read. So we go in and we meet Aunt Wu's assistant, whose name is Mang, which is rhymes with Aang.
Yeah.
But a young girl who seems quite taken with Aang, and she does readings, and it seems to be very typical, fortune teller psychic type stuff, where they just kind of tell you what you want to hear. But Aang sneaks away while Katara's having her reading to listen, and Aunt Wu tells Katara that her true love will be a powerful bender, and Aang is blushing at this. It's just kind of a weird thing that came. It just seemed kind of odd to me that this whole little,
You're summarizing.
Sorry. So anyway, turns out that there's a ceremony every year where Aunt Wu predicts whether or not the local volcano will erupt and whether the village will survive, and she does this by reading the clouds. She does and says the village will be safe for another year. Everybody cheers. We get other little instances where we see that Aunt Wu's, fortune telling has come true for people, and Katara really believes. Sokka thinks it's nonsense. He's trying to prove it's nonsense. And to wrap up the summary, the trio discover that the volcano is in fact about to erupt, but nobody will listen to them because none of them believe that Aunt Wu could have been wrong. So they use airbending
and
waterbending because clouds are made of water, to forge some cloud signs so that Aunt Wu's reading will be taken differently. And then they wind up having to create moats and things around to get the lava away from the town. And it looks like it's going to fail until Aang just pulls out some absolutely amazing bending at the last second to save everybody, which causes Sokka to remark on the fact that he's a powerful bender and makes Katara realize what Aunt Wu said, and then she blushes. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So it's a filler episode.
It's a filler.
It's a filler episode.
Definitely better than the last filler episode. I still wasn't exactly fond of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
I
filler
think it moved
episode.
slowly, and there was too. First of all, Katara is such a control freak, and I think that's why she's so obsessed with having her fortune told, because she wants to be able to know, you know?
I think it's just because she's idealistic and she just thinks it works.
She wants to believe.
She's
Yeah,
100% convinced of it.
Okay, well,
She's
for me.
fine.
That's not.
No, I'm with you. I didn't care for it all that much. It was okay. It was better than The Great Divide, but it wasn't my favorite episode by far. It did show us a little bit more of Sokka's practicality and Sokka's, he gets so indignant when they don't seem to listen to him.
Yeah. Can
Which
your
was
science
kinda
tell us why it rains? Yes.
Yes, he can.
That was so good.
That was good. Also, Sokka's advice for girls was funny, and it was
Yes.
good for Sokka.
It was.
Surprisingly,
There were some funny moments.
Yeah.
So it had more characterization. It had more to it than The Great Divide did. So that makes it a better filler episode than The Great Divide was. We did get some views of them working together to protect the town, which is a good thing. That's
cool
kind of
bending.
very, very
We saw Appa
important
carry
stuff.
a huge rock and Momo.
Yes, Appa was working hard.
I think this also exposed their childish naiveness.
Yes,
They're very
yes,
naive.
they are. They're still just kids.
Yeah.
So
It was fun.
there wasn't a lot to it though.
I think the most powerful bending we've seen from Aang outside the Avatar state, though.
Yes, it was very impressive.
Yeah. So that's
And
always
good
to
thinking
see.
on their feet with the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the shot of them riding on Appa and bending the clouds.
That was cool,
Good job.
but it was also very interesting to see that even after people still believed. They didn't.
So she was right.
She was right.
Yeah.
But that goes to show people are going to believe whatever they want. So.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
All right. Any other thoughts on the fortune teller?
Nope.
Daniel, you literally
Not
said
really.
nothing.
Sorry.
Nothing.
Nothing about the fortune teller.
I really didn't like this episode. It's very closely as bad as The Great Divide for me.
Yeah.
I just really wasn't fond of it.
All right. Next is Bado of the Water Tribe. I guess I'll do this one. I don't even know where it starts. Basically, they find... Oh, Zuko wasn't in the fortune teller at all, was he?
Not at all.
Okay. So,
Mike Zuko was quiet.
yeah.
Zuko.
So this one, I don't know where it exactly starts, but I'll start here. There's a, cool looking lady on a monster that goes into Zuko's ship looking for a stowaway. They find the stowaway. Zuko and Iroh are kind of like, ooh, she's cool. They end up following her, and Zuko gives her creature, the Katara's mother's necklace, to track down Aang and
Yes.
capture him. On the Aang side, they are camping, and they find an abandoned water tribe ship, and Sokka and Katara get excited because they see that it's part of their dad's fleet. And it turns out an injured member of their dad's fleet named Bado is kind of hanging out in an abbey, recovering from his wounds. Sokka and Katara meet up with him and Aang, and they, Aang feels left out because they're partaking in some traditional Southern Water Tribe stuff, like food, and Aang's kind of off-put by the animal pelts on the wall and all that stuff. And then we get some flashbacks of Sokka that we haven't gotten before, of, first time we see Sokka and Katara's dad. And we see
In the flashback, we see him.
And we see Sokka kind of getting left behind as their dad leads the fleet off to do the war, and how that made him feel. And then we get this cool scene where Sokka does... Oh, Bado is waiting on order a message from the fleet so that he can meet back up with him. Aang somehow intercepts the message, and because he's feeling like they're going to leave him behind, he hides it from Sokka and Katara. Then Bado takes Sokka on their traditional ice dodging ritual. It's like an coming of age thing. They do it, and they all had to work together. And Bado gives them all these like traditional symbols on their heads. And when he gets to Aang, he's like, "You're now honorary member of the Water Tribe," and Aang can't take it and says, "You can't trust me." So then Aang, Sokka, and Katara feel betrayed because they found out that Aang was hiding the message, and they leave. And Zuko ends up tracking down Katara. Aang realizes that they're in trouble. I think from the sisters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back, and we have this cool fight scene in the Abbey courtyard where they're trying to fight the monster, and everybody's involved, even Appa. And they end up winning, and they get Katara's necklace back. And Sokka and Katara realize they should stick with Aang, and all is forgiven, and they head on to the North Pole. Yeah.
Yeah, so they realized separately, and by separately I mean Aang realized, and then Katara and Sokka realized separately that they should meet back together.
Yeah.
Which I liked. It wasn't a collective decision. They both wanted it and realized that they had messed up.
Yeah.
Again, we see Aang being a kid. He's not perfect. He is Avatar, but he lied, you know?
Yeah, this is an example. Me and Mom were talking about this recently, that a sign of a really good series is when one of the main protagonists is, like, rarely anybody's favorite character. So, like, Harry Potter's nobody's favorite Harry Potter character. Aang is nobody's favorite Avatar character. Like, I think that's...
I'm sure he is some people.
Well, I think if you're young enough.
Yeah. I know yours is Momo.
But I think the reason I'm saying this is that it's good... It's a good series because they make the protagonist very flawed, you know?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, perfect protagonists are incredibly boring. The flaws are what make them interesting. And Aang's, impulsive decision tracks with what we know of his character. That was the same decision-making that led to him flying away when he heard they were going to send him to the air temple.
And they had a good parallel vision, or visual of Appa and him riding off, too.
But he does realize that it's the wrong decision.
Right.
And when he realizes Katara is in danger, of course, because Zuko's tracking them, he goes back to protect them. And he apologizes and owns up for it. And I think that's a sign of growth because he didn't have the opportunity to do that after running away from the temple. It wasn't great, but it was a decent episode. We got a little bit of characterization. I was kind of put off by the fact that Bato took Sokka on this coming of age rite that it seemed like his father should have done for him. And I kind of felt like that's something that should have waited until Sokka was back with his dad. But I don't know. What do y'all think?
No,
yeah,
I agree with that.
I felt that too, but I don't think, like, the opportunity, I don't know. I don't even know.
I think maybe he was thinking that the next time they see his father, they're going to go into battle with him.
Yeah, they can't exactly.
Because they're in war right now.
Yeah, it was my belief that he thought Sokka had already really come to age and was long past.
He was long past the age, I think.
I don't know if he was long past the age, but I feel like his deeds made it long past time.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Very good Sokka episode. I think this might be the first dedicated Sokka episode.
Yeah, that's cool. That's always cool. Oh, Sokka. The image of him as a little boy with his face.
Oh, my Lord, yes.
Good Lord. That's adorable and heart-wrenching. And their dad seems very well in it. Like, the look of their dad is perfect to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to meet him. I hope we do.
I think I might have mentioned in an earlier podcast that Sokka's an exceptionally good tracker, but this might be the first time that it's actually explained, because he straight up follows the course of the battle until they literally leave off on ships.
Yep, he does.
Yeah. Oh,
he does.
He's a very good tracker.
He is. And very inventive solution to deal with the monster, which you didn't mention, was blind and could only track by scent.
Yeah.
It was some kind of, looked like a wolf crossed with a star-nosed mole or something. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Anteater-esque.
Yeah, and it had a poisonous bite. It actually poisoned Appa at one point, which is very upsetting.
It like paralyzes you.
Temporarily paralyzes you. Yeah, but the abbey that they were staying in makes perfume and ointments, so they overturned all of the barrels of perfume to confuse its scent tracking abilities, which was very clever. Daniel, I think you mentioned earlier at one point, not a very much in character episode for Uncle Iroh here.
He kind of
No.
creeped me out.
He was, yeah. His thing about how attractive this female tracker
I
was
did
just
not
very
like it.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
At the end, when she's on top of him, and he's like, "Okay, you're not paralyzed." He's like, "Shh."
No, it was just not cool. It
Yeah.
wasn't cool. Didn't
I
like
think
it.
that- Okay, I think that's a symptom of the show being 15 years old. Nobody would animate that right now, right? 'Cause
Well,
of the
and-
situation.
The way we grew up, you know.
Yeah, and also for kids, they don't see that problematic. You know what I mean? Like, if
I
you're a
don't know.
little
It just
kid, you
seemed
don't see
out of
that.
it seemed out of character
It
for Uncle Iroh, especially
I
with what
agree
we
with that,
learn
but-
what we learn later
I mean,
on.
we haven't seen him.
I guess we don't really. I won't say that, but I don't think we really get anything about his partner.
Yeah.
But from knowing Uncle Iroh and what he feels about his other family, I don't know. It just seems strange.
It does seem a little strange. I'm with you there. But I don't think Nick Nickelodeon would have animated it like that today. Right?
Right.
You know?
In the post-Me Too world, you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. But, I mean, it's okay. It's all right to admit that things you love can be
I
problematic
think they're supposed to just
in
be
parts.
cool.
Yeah,
It was.
definitely
Yeah.
But it just didn't ring true even for me as a new person that's only seen, how many episodes now? 15 episodes or so of Uncle Iroh. It just didn't feel right even for me. And it just seemed like the whole episode, it seemed like Zuko was really into the idea that he might find the Avatar. And every time they cut to Iroh, he's just like laughing and goofing off like it was a lark to him. The whole thing was just weird. The whole energy that Iroh was giving off in the episode, even without the interaction with
So
the
do you think
female
that
tracker.
Iroh's really serious about getting the Avatar?
Yeah.
I think he knows that Zuko is serious about it.
Yeah, but
yeah, but
he's
that's
not.
very different about how he acts. That part is consistent to me.
Yeah, it is.
He is very lackadaisical about
Yeah.
actually going after the Avatar.
But so you're saying, okay, this is interesting. Let's go down this road because you're saying that Uncle Iroh would not consider it a good thing for Zuko to go back to the Fire Kingdom.
Well, me and Daniel can't answer that, but
He cannot answer that question.
Okay.
so
But-
we can discuss that.
Yeah, you two can discuss that.
I mean, I'm curious to know, what do you think right now?
Yeah.
Do you think Uncle Iroh wants Zuko to restore his honor?
Well, that's a really loaded question because, again, to restore, you would have to believe that it was something that he lost. And obviously Zuko believes that. I don't know that Iroh believes that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zuko keeps going on and on about how I have to get my honor back. The only person that told him he was without honor was his father. And,
Well, and
The entire
nation.
nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, because his father is the Fire Lord.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Was it these 3 episodes that we had that scene where Zuko looks out towards the water and he says, "The only way to reclaim my honor, my nation, my throne."
That was
He
that
did.
was
It was in
correct.
this episode. That's the first time we heard throne and throne
Yep.
put in there.
Mhm.
So, in other words, I'm assuming that the Fire Nation typically is a monarchy
Hereditary.
and it's hereditary, so they're going to pass it down. Is it patriarchal? Is it from king to prince? Or
What we know from the
cause-
Fire Lords that we know is that they were all male.
Okay, so his sister is not in the.
Well, he's older than his sister to begin with.
Well, I understand that, but now that he's
Zuko has a
been,
sister?
Yeah.
we saw her.
No, he mentioned her.
We have a name. Did he?
Yeah, they mentioned her once.
Okay.
We saw her in the flashback. She was
Yeah.
laughing.
There was which flashback?
The flashback where he was burned, the one in the storm.
Yeah.
We saw her.
Oh.
Well,
Well, let's go back to...
So,
Iroh.
as you now know, that's her sister.
So
his
she's
sister.
younger, but if Zuko's been thrown out of the kingdom, does that make her the heir?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Alright,
if he's
well,
banished,
can
then
we-
yes, it makes
Okay.
real quick. You know that person next to Zuko, I mean not next to Zuko, next to Iroh in that flashback is his sister. You'll notice it's also the same person in the intro that does the firebending for Fire Nation.
Yeah, Zula's
Cool.
I didn't know that.
You spoiled the name.
Oh, wait, what?
You spoiled the
You
name.
said Azula. She knew I was Azula.
No, we never said the name until just now.
Well, that's not a huge. It's just a fun fact.
Yeah, her name is Azula.
Can we please backtrack? Because going back to Uncle Iroh, I don't think he cares if Zuko ever returns to the Fire Nation, but I think he's one of those where he's going to support him no matter what and let him make his own mistakes to learn. Like you, Mom, when we were learning how to drive. You'd make sure we... No, listen.
Make us crash.
No, Mom, I specifically remember this. I was turning on to a road going towards Caleb's house, and I misjudged the turn.
Mm-hmm.
And after I finished, I got into the gravel, and I had to go back on the road. And I said, Mom, why did you let me do that? And she said, there was nobody around you. You had to learn how that turn went.
Or she was looking at her phone and didn't notice.
No, I remember that because you held on. I remember that. I think that's how. Stop ruining this for me. That's how Uncle Otto is. I don't think he cares if he ever goes back to the Fire Nation, but he's going to let Zuko believe that he is the one deciding this for himself. So he can make his own mistakes to learn from them.
But if Zuko doesn't go back, then Uncle Iroh doesn't go back.
I don't think he cares.
So this is fine with him to spend his retirement just sailing around the world looking
Does he
for
not
something
seem
he may
happy
never
playing
find.
his Pashu or whatever the heck it is?
I don't know. What do you think, Mom?
I don't know. I think that
This is
very-
kind of a premature question, I think, at this point.
okay.
I don't think you have all the information, but it is interesting. It's an interesting thing for the whole series.
I mean, there's part of me that says that Zuko, but see, the thing is, the banishment causes Zuko so much pain. I just don't know that Uncle Iroh wouldn't want to see Zuko happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, is he better off sailing around the world looking for something that nobody ever thought that they would find, right? We all know that, right?
Yeah.
That they didn't expect it. That maybe he was better off there than under the thumb of his father. Or is he playing the long con and he intended to, take this young prince with so much potential, obviously, right? We know he can fight. We've seen him. We know he's powerful. We know he's a bender. He's got honor. He's got all these instincts. Is Uncle Iroh playing the long con that he's going to take this young prince off and then come back and lead an insurrection and take over?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Nobody believed that Aang existed.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. What if Uncle Iroh's idea is, I'll just take this young prince, get him out from under the influence of his father, and then we'll come back when his father dies or at another opportune time, and Zuko will be on the throne and I'll be his advisor and I'll train this kid up the way he needs to be trained up.
Yeah, but the way that they set it up, it is set up to where Zuko will never get the throne unless he delivers the Avatar.
Yeah.
Unless he comes back and just flat out takes over with the Dragon of the West at his side.
Yeah, with the entire nation against him? I don't think so.
I don't know. We haven't seen enough of the Fire Nation
I
for
think
me to
that's
know.
a huge reach.
It's like the plot of every other fantasy novel in existence.
Yeah,
the
but-
Prince in Exile
But
returns.
you're basing that on other shows and not on the things we've been given through this show.
I think it's a possibility.
We'll see.
I ain't saying nothing.
Me either. Okay, getting back to the episode, this is the first time Aang and Zuko meet since Blue Spirit. Also, I'm curious do you think Aang told Sokka?
I don't believe he did.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't believe he did.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
Which makes it a whole lot more interesting as well.
Yeah. The only thing I noticed with them in the courtyard scene, we got a pretty good Aang-Zuko fight, was it looked like they were dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that Aang dodges and weaves in and out, and
He was evading again, back to, avoid and evade.
yeah.
Ooh, can we say the scene when we already talked about Zuko returning from the Blue Spirit, but Aang returning from the Blue Spirit was almost as good. When Sokka asked, "Hey Aang, did you make any new friends?"
Yeah.
Oh
and he
my
said,
gosh.
"No, I don't think so."
Also, I know we're jumping way back to the spirit, but I love, and I think this is why you liked the Boomy episode. I love when we get a glimpse of what Aang lost over the 100 years.
Yes.
You know, him talking about what's his friend's name? Shoot,
Mm-hmm.
he mentions it more than once.
Uh-huh.
It starts with an S. From the Fire Nation when he was
Yeah.
little.
Sally.
So did they make a point, did the monks make a point to expose him to different
He
people?
knew a little Earthbender boy in Omashu, and he knew
Right.
his little friend not at their temples. So
Right. So there had to be, because you almost get, I guess we just don't have enough information. You wonder how he was able to make these connections, but he'd been to Omashu.
Yeah.
So he must have traveled some.
I mean, they're nomads.
Oh, good point. But they're nomads with a centralized home.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
flying bison, so...
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we really, and throughout the series, we realized just how much speed they can get done by flying. Like, if Aang actually knew where he was going and knew what direction north was, they'd already be there by now. You know what I mean?
Or it's really just him just not playing around. Like, that's why they're not at the North Pole. Like,
Yeah.
they just keep playing. But to be fair to the trio, The Fire Nation is actively tracking them now.
Right,
do
so they're
have
having to hide,
travel.
yeah.
Okay, back to Bato episode. Katara waterbend perfume.
Yeah, not water.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything's kind of water, but yeah. But that was interesting. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep. It's all
It was a good episode.
They were good episodes. They just, it was almost unfortunate that the Blue Spirit was the first one we watched in that group, you know, because it would have been better if the other episodes had built to it like the previous, you know, set we did where it built to the storm, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, because that was an excellent episode, really. The Blue Spirit was very good.
Yes.
Yes, very good, very good, very good. Alright, any other thoughts on any of the episodes?
No?
Okay, so before we do, let's just go ahead and do favorites then. Everybody doing the Blue Spirit?
Yep.
Out of
I am.
3?
I am.
Alright, who's jumping?
I'm jumping Blue Spirit ship.
I am too.
What was my other one again?
The Storm. The one
No,
with the two backs.
you were still at Winter Solstice.
You were still at Winter Solstice Part 2, that's right.
I'm saying Winter Solstice.
Wow!
Where are you at, Mom?
I have to jump Blue Spirit. As much as I love the backstory episode of the Storm, the ending of Blue Spirit just sealed the deal for me. And it was just it was another one with just beautiful shots.
Oh my gosh. Aang looking down at him through the trees.
So good. So I have to go
good.
Blue Spirit.
Yeah. Alright, well, the next 3 episodes are The Deserter, The Northern Air Temple, and The Waterbending Master.
3 bangers.
3 bangers. For
3
real.
excellent ones.
Good.
And then
I'm
after
excited.
this one is the finale episode.
Wow. So we're almost
Yeah.
done with season 1.
Yeah.
Okay, but we will not be back.
Until-
Loyal listeners.
Yeah, Natalie.
Hey, Natalie.
Hey, Natalie.
I hope your run is going well.
Yes, we should mention the twins just turned 20.
Yep, no teenagers on this
No
podcast.
teenagers anymore. But yeah, Daniel's going to be on duty the next
So when's
3
next
nights.
So, Monday, Tuesday,
We
Wednesday,
can
Thursday
record
is fine.
Thursday.
Thursday. So if Abigail comes home, we can do Thursday.
Just because you said that, I will not be here.
Abigail! We have to do
Okay,
Sorry,
come on. I'm ready
for
for my outro.
It's your turn.
I know, I'm ready.
Okay. Alright, anybody got anything else to say? Okay. Go
I
ahead.
am coming up with this as I go.
Okay.
Long ago, the 4 families decided to record a podcast. Then everything changed when we sat down to do it. Only Emily, master of all the podcasts, could make them do it. But when the world needed them to stop, they didn't.
Are you done?
No. Many episodes passed, and my brother and I began to grow tired of it.
Stop!
We discovered our loyal listener, Natalie, the listener to change the podcast. Okay, I'm done.